Oops. I hit continue where I started it up just to make sure the game ran alright. Didn't mean to do that. Started up the beginning of it to make sure it ran alright earlier. Alright, I gotta restart the game now. um, I hope you're all having an awesome day. And if not, I hope it gets a little more awesome soon. I apologize for accidentally clicking continue at first. Of course, it's the very beginning of the game, so I still don't want to miss out on anything on here. Watch out, I miss anything. Alright, let's go to new game. Don't know why I'm going to continue again almost.
Paris. City of love, romance, and dreams. So they say. I used to say it too. But ever since that day, the day of the murder, I've always associated my beloved Paris with death. I was at home having a bath when my editor called.
Collard, get your ass over to the Palais Royal now. You got an interview. With Pierre Carchon. Yes, the Pierre Carchon. No photos, so leave your gear at home. He asked for you personally. Don't ask me why. Anyhow, this could be big, so if he makes a pass, don't forget. Just smile, say yes, and keep taking notes.
So charming and so very apt. Pierre Carchon was a media king, a national hero, and one of the most infamous adulterers in Europe. He and his wife Imelda were just one step down from royalty. Whoa, I hate mimes, but unless you humor them, they don't go away. Here I was, the palace of the Media King and the Ice Queen. I pressed the doorbell and set in motion a chain of events which would change my life forever.
Yes? What is it?
Madame, my name is Nico Collard. I'm here to see Monsieur Carchon.
Come up, we're on the first floor.
Madame Carchon, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, I'm sure.
The Ice Queen was certainly living up to her reputation. Will you be staying for the interview?
Mademoiselle, I know little of my husband's business affairs, and I care even less. I certainly have no intention of watching him pore over yet another pretty little journalist.
Pretty? You're too kind, madame.
Ah, the talented and very beautiful Mademoiselle Collard. Such a pleasure to meet you at last.
Monsieur Carchon, I am honored.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Call me Pierre, please. But I do not flatter you idly. I was a friend of your father. He was a great man.
My father, he never mentioned.
He and I were very close. And then his death. So tragic. I must... Imelda, your damned cat's in my study again. Another Ming vase, I suppose. Excuse me for one moment, my dear girl.
You journalists are getting younger each year.
Perhaps it's the rest of the world getting older, madame. That was no cat.
My God, what? Monsieur Carchon! He's dead. I must call the police. You'd better stay here.
There was a man. It was the mime. Do you think he...
Well, I believe we can rule out suicide, don't you?
No wonder they called her the Ice Queen. She would have been top of my list of suspects if I hadn't seen the attacker myself. And if I hadn't come across a couple of murders just like this already. One of the most important men in Europe murdered. And here was I, Nico Coulard, alone at the scene of the crime. Should I wait for the cops? Or start my own investigation? It was a no-brainer.
Sorry for not talking, everybody. I'm not going to talk during the dialogue scenes, of course. I don't want to... I mean, this whole game is a story, right? So, anyway. Hope you're all having an awesome day. So, let's get into this. Now, the version of this that I played originally was the PlayStation version back in the day. So, this scene right here, everything right here, was not in the PlayStation version. Because this is the director's cut of Broken Sword, so they added in some new stuff.
A bust of Pierre Cauchon, humble servant of La France.
In fact, in the PlayStation version, you didn't play as Nico at all. That I remember of. Maybe there was a part. I don't think there was.
Pierre Cauchon again. His eyes seemed to follow me around the room. Mimes and guns don't usually go together, but I had an idea that this was no ordinary mime. I'd come across this murderer before, and written about him. The costume killer. At least that's what I'd called him.
I never trust a mime that doesn't say anything even after somebody gets shot.
Some people hate searching corpses for clues. Me, I'm okay with it. Reminds me of an old boyfriend. In his pocket, I found a ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. Taking the ticket meant I tampered with the evidence. There was no going back now.
Maybe.
Cauchon had been shot. I closed his eyes. It was the least I could do for the poor fellow.
If I close my eyes forever. Sorry.
The bookcase was filled with obscure first editions.
I saw a viewer left for that. Somebody hates Ozzy Osbourne. Or just hates that particular song. Just hates me. I'm sorry.
A small round piece of glass had been cut out of the pane. This was a professional job. I didn't want to cut myself and leave blood on the glass. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to keep my DNA to myself.
I love the artwork in this game, by the way. Like, the great thing about this kind of game's artwork is it just never really ages. It really... This hand-drawn artwork like this is ageless.
The police could turn up at any minute. Somewhere there were clues to the murder, and I needed to find them. A medieval pageant. Original, no doubt. The tapestry must have cost a fortune.
Down my mic a little bit. I think I had my mic too high. That might have been why I was bothering people. Down just a little. And like I said, this is all very new to me. In particular,
It was a tube of acrylic paint.
director's cut.
French ultramarine. Just the color I was after for my bathroom.
I'm sorry, I have to go. Someone is...
Young lady, what are you doing? Oh, this paint. It's my favorite color.
For God's sake, keep the damn stuff.
Wow, she's a happy lady. Let's see here. This is really cool. I gotta say this. Because I bought this on Steam a while back, and I never got around to getting to it. I know point-and-click games probably aren't that popular on stream. Although I do know of at least one streamer who plays through all of like the DOS adventure games. And that guy is really cool. If I can think of his name right now. Hippolito Picardo. I highly recommend giving him a follow if you're into point-and-click adventure games. Because, you know, he does have a successful stream playing point-and-clicks, but you don't see it very often. He's a very smart guy. Puts a lot of work into figuring things out and never resorts to, like, walkthroughs unless he really has to, so I can see why he gets a lot of respect.
I reckoned that cloth might just turn out to be useful. Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
Anyway, I enjoy his streams, so if you like these kinds of games, I recommend following Hippolito Picardo. I probably pronounced that wrong. But hopefully I pronounced it well enough for you to know what it is, because he's a good guy. If you're into these kinds of games, he plays, like, all of them. Like I said, it's like his quest to play all of them, so... Just thought I'd give him a shout out. Because he's a very entertaining streamer.
Excuse me, madame.
Yes?
I am so sorry for your loss, madame.
No, you're not. You're a journalist. Journalists don't feel sorry.
Not true.
We shall see.
Why did your husband send for me? What did he want to discuss?
I have no idea. His business was his business.
He never told you anything.
No, and frankly, I preferred it that way.
How did your husband know my father?
I have no idea.
You didn't know him? Thierry Collard?
Pierre knew a lot of people I didn't know, most of them women.
Why would a mime want to kill your husband?
Pierre had plenty of enemies. Half the husbands in Paris for a start. This is quite a scoop for you. I suppose you're already inventing the headlines.
Just because I am a journalist.
Don't patronize me. You're all cut from the same cloth. Do you have any moral sense at all?
Yes, that's why I do this job.
You do it to see your name in print.
As if. My editor gets the byline, I just do the work.
Well, don't expect my sympathy.
The police will be here soon, madame. Is there anybody you would like me to contact? Family, friends?
No, I have no family. Pierre and I were... He was all I had, really. Not much, was it? The dutiful wife. That was my role. He never talked, never let me in.
I know one thing, madame.
What?
If you want to find out who killed your husband, then you let me do the job, not the police.
Why? How do I know I can trust you?
Your husband invited me here today because he needed me. I think he knew somebody wanted to kill him, and he knew I could help.
I doubt it was your database he was after.
You're wrong. I was onto his killers already, I am sure of it. Please, you owe it to him.
I don't know.
All I need is a few more minutes to look around before the police come.
You really do have a moral sense, don't you? I trust so few people. And perhaps Pierre really did think that you could help. Of course it wouldn't have stopped him seducing you too. Here, take this. It's the key to the drawing room next to the library at the end of the hall. It was Pierre's room. I rarely went in there. I couldn't. I was too scared of what I might find.
Thank you. I promise you won't regret this. There was no one I needed to phone. Not until I had solved this case. Madame Cachon,
Please call me Imelda. We hardly need the formalities now, do we?
did Monsieur Cachon say nothing to you about my father?
No, I'm sorry. He never mentioned him.
So, her husband took secret boat trips. Did she really need to see the ticket? The last thing she needed to talk about was paint.
Thank you. You have your own reason for taking the cloth. Please keep it.
I needed to open the drawing room door before giving Imelda back the key. I was sure that there was more to find. I just had to keep looking. I thought of leaving, but was sure there was more to find. Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. The door was locked. Pierre Cachon was stiff for the last time.
So wrong.
Cachon had been shot. I opened his eyes. Best to leave the crime scene as I found it. It was one of my hair clips. My favorite, in fact. It must have fallen when I was knocked down.
Palais Royal, Pierre Cachon interview. Relaxing in Bath when I was disturbed by my phone call from my editor, Ronnie. He asked me to interview Pierre Cachon, media tycoon and serial philanderer, on the case like a shot. Creepy mime outside the Carchon's apartment. Mime, Carchon cold as ice. M. Carchon suave and charming, living up to his reputation. Played along with his flirtation. Sound of a vase smashing, and M. Carchon went to investigate. A gunshot. I rushed to the room and found Mime standing over Carchon's body. Mime beckoned. As I walked to him, he punched me, knocked me out. Came to find Imelda distraught. Almost feel sorry for her. Must get to the bottom of this story before the police arrive. This is the break that I've waited for. Imelda doesn't trust me very much. Fortunately, she's chosen to let me investigate her husband's murder.
A magnificent antique table. It contained rows of titles I didn't recognize. The killer must have used a ladder to reach the window. He was long gone. Guess he folded that ladder up, popped it in his pocket and took it with him. Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
Oh, no jokes. Gabe's getting lewd, isn't it? The heck? Actually, I brought up my Steam menu by hitting back. Oh, don't know why I did that. Feels weird. This is the first time I've streamed a game from PC to my stream, besides using a capture card, I mean. To stream Xbox games, but this is the first PC game I've played on stream. In that sense, put it that way.
Aha! Nico, you are just so damn good at this stuff.
I had a feeling that
Instead of comforting Imelda, I was ransacking her flat. Why? Because there was something going on here, and I had to get answers before the cops arrived. And hey, she'd been rude to me, so she had it coming. Excuse me, Imelda.
Yes?
Imelda might not have been so cool with me poking around if I'd shown her the key I'd found. Would you like to see my favorite hair clip?
What a ridiculous question. Of course not.
Huh. Another time, I guess. Imelda might not have been... I was sure that there was more to find. There was no one I needed to phone. Not until I had solved this case. Even the telephone was antique. Never trust anyone who owns a phone like that. Imelda now looked shocked and scared. Almost human, in fact. It was the way out. A beautiful, expensive, antique way out, but the way out nevertheless. Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that. A magnificent antique table. With a drawing room key. A key. Maybe a safe key. Not a good idea to touch the broken glass. The tube of paint from Imelda's easel, French ultramarine. It was a boat ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. When I was a little girl, Papa used to take me on the Bateau Mouche as a treat. The cloth was embroidered with an unusual symbol. The tapestry must have cost a fortune. Excuse me, Imelda.
Yes?
Are you sure you don't know anything about my father?
Positive.
I was sure that there was more to find. I just had to keep looking. Even my fingernail wouldn't fit into such a small hole.
I don't think there was anything more in there. Suppose I could possibly do it again. I love that sound it makes when doing that. I don't think I could... So...
The door was locked.
Oh. Locked door. I've got 2 keys. I haven't even tried one of them. I'm not stuck yet.
Now we were getting somewhere. I didn't need the lights on. It was light enough already. The painting showed the Cachons together, in love. As the poet said, the past is a different country. Or did I read that in a fortune cookie? There was the very faintest of clicks. Behind the picture was a safe.
Wow, I found that quick. Well, let's go back, because I don't want to... in case that proceeds to the next scene, I want to check the room out first to see if there's anything she has to say about anything in here first.
This wasn't the time for me to lie on the sofa doing my Marie Antoinette impression, though it is very popular at parties, especially with gay guys. Don't ask me why. The sofa was antique. For one horrible moment, I had an image of a naked Cachon wriggling around on it with a young journalist. Oh. As expected, the desk was yet another priceless antique. Yawn. The blotter and in tray had clearly been placed with mathematical precision. My heart skipped a beat. It was a carved elephant. But not just any carved elephant. It had been made by my father. I knew for certain because in my apartment I had its exact twin, carved into a box he had made. So Cachon had known my father. They really must have been friends. I decided to take the carved elephant. It clearly meant nothing to Imelda. I didn't want to take the tray, but I knew that I could use it. I didn't want to take... The in-tray, like everything else in this place, was beautiful. One day I was going to have an in-tray like that, even if I had to sell my apartment to pay for it. The sofa was antique. For one horrible moment, I had an image of a naked Cachon.
I already heard that.
This wasn't the time for me, though it...
Alright, I already heard that too. I just wanted to make sure that I heard everything before I do anything else. It's OCD.
Locked. Not surprising, really.
Alright, now let's head back over here. Seems like needs to be done. You have to click on
The
it.
safe was locked. The safe looked pretty secure.
Maybe that's only one piece of the key.
It was the beautiful elephant my father had carved. A key. Maybe a safe key.
Ah, there we go. Hadn't gotten that little wheel on it. Makes sense.
In the safe was some kind of artifact. There were strange symbols on its surface. It looked like the printer's blocks I'd made at art school. If there was one thing I'd learned about symbols, they are always important. But these symbols scratched into stone were impossible to read. I needed to find a way of printing them. At least the stone was round. But what could I use for ink? And what could I print on?
Sure, I was stealing, but I knew Imelda didn't know about the artifact, and Carchon was past carrying.
You could put it that way. What does she have to say about...
The artifact was like an old printer's block, covered in symbols.
Cool. I've already rolled out that door over there, unless... The key opens it too.
Locked. Not surprising, really.
Right.
It didn't work, but I guess it would have been surprising if it had.
Still worth a shot.
I didn't need the lights on. It was light enough already. Even the light switch looked impressive. I thought of leaving, but was sure there was more to find. There was no one I needed to phone.
Let's talk to her about that if I can.
Did you find anything useful?
This carving. Do you know anything about it?
It was Pierre's. What does the statue have to do with...
Please, I need to know.
He was given it by a friend, something to do with Africa.
He never explained any more.
No, but I think it was important to him, always on display. Why?
It was carved by my father.
Oh, I see. I didn't know.
Just one thing. I know this is going to sound strange, but did your husband ever mention, did he ever talk to you about a penguin? Or a snowman?
What? I don't understand.
He never mentioned people dressed up as penguins.
Nico, I don't know what you're talking. My dear, you should go before the police arrive. There will be many awkward questions. I am grateful that you stayed. You've been so kind.
Please, call if there is anything I can do.
I'd misjudged her. She had every reason to be bitter, living with a guy like Carchon. From the sound of it, no one and nothing was safe around him.
Maybe I should have interrogated the cat after all.
I thought of leaving. There was no one.
Excuse me, Imelda.
Yes?
She'd know I'd broken into her husband's safe if I showed her the artifact. That would have been insane.
Would you like to take the elephant back?
No, my dear. You should keep it.
I was sure that there was...
The killer must have used a ladder to reach the window. It wouldn't fit. A bust of Pierre Cauchon.
Feels so weird having a broken sword puzzle that's new to me after all this time. I like it. I enjoy being stuck here because it's
I didn't need the lights on. It was light enough already.
makes me feel like a kid again playing the PlayStation 1 for the first time, except on there, of course, you start off as George Stobart. George Stobart, sorry.
There was nothing else to take from the safe. It was a back door. Locked, not surprising, really. No. Putting the paint straight on the cylinder would be too messy. The paint would go everywhere.
Oh, so I am onto something there. Doesn't
No.
work? If I put that
I
down?
smeared the paint all over the cloth. When I do messy, I really like to put my heart into it. I hoped this was going to help. They don't make lace like that anymore. I wiped the paint-covered cloth over the surface of the stone cylinder. It took me right back to art class at school. And Maurice, my gorgeous art teacher. Such a shame they had to fire him. Ah well, concentrate, Nico, concentrate. The cylinder was covered in the blue paint. I needed to work out what to do before the paint dried.
Interesting. I'm supposed to cover that again?
No.
No. Did not think so.
It was a boat ticket stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie.
This, oops. Safe key, safe key is useless now, I think.
No.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. It's over here again. I forgot. Oh, is it just that little tray? Oh, that might be something I can put it on, though.
Genius! The roller and the paint worked just as I planned. But what did it say?
Says you've ruined our tapestry.
It was some kind of coded message. It read, subjudice. I may not have learned a lot as a journalist, but that was a term I knew well. It means a legal case that is before the courts. Below it was a sequence of letters that made no sense. I suddenly realized there was a connection between the boat ticket and the coded message. The boat ticket was stamped Bateau de la Conciergerie. The Conciergerie on the Ile de la Cité, by the river, housed the ancient law courts. So, subjudice could in this case mean literally under the law courts, below the Conciergerie. I was pretty sure I'd found all I could here. And besides, all this opulence was making me pine for my regular life of poverty. But I was going to crack it. And if I could just remember the name of that fancy prize you get for being an ace journalist, I was definitely going to win it this time.
Did not mean to click that button there, but at least I didn't miss anything that would have seemed hard to figure out what she said, but that was an accident. I thought she was done talking and I was gonna click this to go to the next round. Oh well. That would normally kill my OCD, but I'm not gonna think about it now. I can always look back at the vibe. See exactly what the light was that I accidentally skipped. Bye, Chapman.
Imelda had talent, but I certainly wasn't going to tell her that.
Now it's time to get out of here.
Imelda, I will do everything I can to find the killer.
Thank you, my dear.
And if the police ask,
Don't worry. You were never here.
subjudice was the key. I was going to have to find a way under the Conciergerie. I decided to head straight for the quayside on the Ile de la Cité. If there was a way of getting under the Conciergerie, it would have to be from there. Canchon wasn't the type for messing about on the river. He was up to something down here. Something that got him killed. The fence wouldn't move. This fence was a permanent fixture. An old boyfriend of mine owned a barge once. Dampest relationship I ever had, in every way. The fence wouldn't move. This fence wouldn't move either. It was the old boathouse for the Conciergerie. If I was right about the meaning of subjudice, then the answer had to lie somewhere here on the quayside. I tried pushing the fence, but it wouldn't move. A strange pair of locks stopped the latches from releasing the gate.
Oh, this looks like it's gonna be a fun puzzle.
Yes! One down, one to go.
Wow, that was a little easier than I expected. That surprised me. Logically, can't do anything with these while these are here, and I can't do anything with these while these are here. These can be pushed up. Sure. Exactly.
Nothing like a good convent education for honing your lockpicking skills. For a room full of junk, that was one very sophisticated lock system. This place was definitely fishy, in more ways than one. The skiff hadn't been touched for years. I've got an exercise bike just like that. Oops. It was an old shell case, probably from the 50s. I knew what I was talking about. I grew up watching war movies. An old shell case. I wondered what that was doing there. A rough hole was cut into the pillar. The words Sinister and Dexter were carved on either side. Now any good convent girl like me knows the old Roman for left, right, left, right. But what did it mean here? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Mystery solved. Carchon's stone cylinder slotted into the hole with a satisfying click. A satisfying click told me I turned it to the right position. It felt like tumblers in a safe. Another click. Another step closer. I made a mistake. The lock reset. Another click. Oh no! A satin. Another click. Oh no! A satin. Another click. I love the sound of locks clicking open.
What? That worked? I was just like... I was thinking, fudge, I'm stuck, and the next thing I know, it turned out that was, like, working. It was just... Like, I was thinking, wait a second, I'm, like, just rotating this around randomly at this point.
Ut lex vel ut next sumito. To the law or unto death, submit. I guess these people didn't believe in liberté, égalité, or fraternité. Yes, I'll admit it. I was a swot at school. I also wore lipstick and the nuns never knew. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. It was embroidered on the lace cloth I'd picked up at Carchon's apartment. I knew I was on the right track. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. The brass case was smooth and perfectly round. No. Oh my god! The slab came down with a hell of a force. With nothing to hold it up, the cross dropped back down again. If I was going to get a closer look at the panel, I'd have to find a way of keeping the cross up.
That's what he said.
The panel was firmly closed. The panel wouldn't move. It was a boat ticket. Rolling out the painted cylinder had given me a print of a secret message. It read, Sub Judice. Below it was a sequence of letters, S, D, S, S, D, S, S. Lifting the cross closed the entrance door and also opened some kind of stone panel. Ingenious. The stone cross was propped up. Now I was getting somewhere. I removed the shell case.
Oops, didn't mean to remove that case. I did not expect that shell to work. If you're wondering why my mouse keeps traveling off screen, I turn my mic on and off when I'm talking or not talking to avoid this fan getting picked up over here.
A round slot precisely carved into the stonework. I touched the slot. Nothing bad happened, which was good. I've always been attached to my fingers. This slot was designed for something specific. But what? A door made out of stone. They normally are. No way would I be able to force the door open.
I'm guessing whatever it is in the other room since I
I
gave me a way to
removed the shell
this.
case.
Restart this part, meaning that it might mean that it wants me to go back in the other room if I have to.
Ut lex vel ut Next, Sumito. To the law or unto death, submit. Moving a skiff would only damage it more. I removed the stone cylinder. The artifact slotted into the hole perfectly. Behind the old walls, I could hear some kind of mechanism groaning into life, but whatever had been triggered had now jammed. A hidden door. This was getting interesting. Shame the mechanism jammed. I was going to have to find a way to prise it open. The gap was too thin for me to get a grip. I needed something thin enough to prise the door open. I was going to need something a lot stronger than a hair clip to free the door.
Seems like I might be missing an item. I am going to get what I need for this part.
I removed the shell case. The crust didn't drop back down. Some kind of mechanism was holding it up.
Uh-oh.
The gap was too narrow. I needed something flatter to work into it. No. Moving the skiff would only damage it more. I'd wrecked the skiff. Not that it was particularly seaworthy anyway. It was almost as if the fence was intended to double as a bridge. I really didn't want to pull the fence back up and risk trapping myself in this place. I wasn't leaving yet. I had a hunch there was more to find. This fence wouldn't move either. The cross looked familiar. I'd seen it before. A rough hole was cut into the pillar. No. No. The brass case was smooth and perfectly round. I wasn't going to risk damaging the artifact. The slab was too heavy for me to lift. I was going to need something a lot stronger. No. No. The ticket could be a clue, so best not to trash it. No. 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 The panel was firmly closed. I wasn't going to risk damaging the artifact. The stone slab had flattened one end of the shell case. I needed a gap for leverage. No. 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 The slab was too heavy for me to lift.
I didn't expect that to work after I smashed it.
A hidden door. This was getting interesting. Shame the mechanism jammed. The gap was too thin for me to get a grip. I needed something thin enough to prise the door open. I removed the shell case.
Okay, so that really does hold that open. Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
I removed the shell case. Another good use for a shell case. Another secret room. Somebody had something to hide. But was it what I was looking for? Wow! Through the darkness, I could see that this was a stateroom. But for what purpose? And how did it tie in with Carchon?
Has to be some sort of light switch or something. Don't see. Oh, what's this?
Amazing! The thing still worked. The room lit up bright as day. It was an old circuit breaker, like something from a Frankenstein movie. Lady Justice stared out from a stone door, which was locked and reinforced with steel bands.
A door like that always has something important behind it. I had to find a way to unlock it. The desks were covered with a layer of dust. No one had worked here for years. I wasn't going to find anything in this old desk. It hadn't been used for years. The flags had faded, but their message was still pretty clear. Fascist regalia, a message of hate. I wasn't going to find anything in this old desk. It was a drawer. I wondered what was inside. Inside the drawer, I found a note written in some kind of code. It was pretty clear from the lack of dust that someone had been working very recently at this desk. Oh my God! The sheet was a printout with my personal information. Everything from my favorite food to my waist size. They were right about chocolate. Come on, guys, I'm a size 10. There was even a picture of me, taken with a telephoto lens. Carchon wouldn't have taken these pictures himself. This was big and organized. I was part of it, and people were getting murdered. The dregs at the bottom of the mug hadn't dried out or gone moldy. It wasn't more than a day old. This was the article I'd written about the costume killer. My suspicions were right. Carchon had cut it out. 2 businessmen had been killed. One in Italy, one in Japan. In each case, the killer had worn a costume. A penguin, and then a snowman. But that wasn't the only link between the 2 murders. Both the victims had been big media do-gooders, and I proved they were just the opposite. So, how did they fit in with Carchon? The congealed coffee wasn't appealing. A door like that always has something important behind it. I had to find a way to unlock it. I wasn't... The flags had faded, but their message was still pretty clear. Fascist regalia, a message of hate.
That generator sounds really weird, doesn't it? For those wondering, there's nothing wrong with your audio system or with my stream. That's actually part of the game. That's actually the generator in the game. Well, in this particular area.
The flags.
Okay, so that whole top area just does the same thing.
Damn! Don't you just hate it when that happens? A photo, long lost, had fallen down the back of the drawer. It was very old, but there was no mistaking the guy in the foreground. Carchon. Behind him were soldiers, a burning village, and a corpse. The photograph was cropped on the right-hand side. Somebody else in the picture obviously didn't want to be in it anymore. I wasn't surprised. This was Africa in the 60s. An uprising was being brutally suppressed. And here was Mr. Media himself, Carchon, doing the suppressing. The photograph was not just powerful evidence. It was also my ticket to one explosive story. The drawer had come out easily enough, but wouldn't fit back into place. The photograph showed Carchon smiling happily to camera, with a background of burning huts and death.
Generator does sound kind of funny. Nico left one of her toys on.
I wasn't going to find anything in this old desk. It hadn't been used for years.
Yeah, I checked that desk too many times and got the same thing, so I assume there's nothing that can be done with it. Though it does have that little interactive thing that makes me feel like something can be done with it. I keep feeling tempted. Find out what I'm going to stick in this. I'm not gonna say it. I need to find out what needs to be placed in this hole. The least lewd way possible. Yeah, that generator in this game, it sounds funny. When I first heard it, I was like, what's going on? Is the game messing up? I was like, oh, that's right, that's a generator. What else could be done with that desk? Question. Anything here? Already checked these newspaper reports once. Sure.
My articles about the costume killer.
Yeah.
There was nothing else in the drawer.
A shame. I don't want to use one of the game's hands, so I'm just still looking. But if I get too stuck, the game does have a little hit thing if I have to. A little question mark.
A slot next to the safe door. All I had to do was find something to fit into it.
It was like being back in kindergarten. All I needed now was a shape that would fit the slot.
What if I needed to bring along that thing I left behind at the other place? Nah. Well, I sure hope not. Alright, now I do feel like checking the hats. Scripted now.
Rolling out the painted iteration.
That have to do with hull. Or is this the one? Oh. See, I wouldn't have even thought of that, so that's why the hints sometimes can come in handy, because I was going one way, the game wanted me to go another way. At least it wasn't a complete spoiler, it just told me that I wasn't headed down the path I needed to be. The note has been written using a substitution cipher. This means that a different symbol has been used to represent each letter of the alphabet. To crack the code, you must correctly match all the symbols to their corresponding letters. Highlight a symbol, then highlight the corresponding letter. If you make a mistake, click on the Go Back button to step back, where you can reset the whole puzzle by clicking on the Reset button. So, it basically means trial and erroring all of these things, is what they're saying. That's what they're saying, isn't it? Essentially, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at this. Some of these letters that occur more often, I assume, are vowels, but okay, some of these symbols. This is one heck of a puzzle for sure. Puzzle needs a solution. Look for the 1 or 2 letter words and try out A, T, N, up to. First letter is Pierre, then I guess. Pierre. Sorry, I had to use that hint here. This would take like literally all day to figure out something like this. This is a pretty insane puzzle. So that's an O. That would be a T. Little symbol. Okay. Trying to find another word. I don't imagine that's SH.